Come on. Do I sound like I'm joking? Do I sound like I'm playing? When you look into my eyes, you understand what I'm saying? Let me say it to you slowly, and it may sound scandalous. I don't think that you can handle this.
We are going to move to Monday Night Football, and another ex-Jet quarterback. We'll see if you have this much venom for Sam Darnold. All right, Monday night, we have a doubleheader. Game one, the 4-9 Chicago Bears head to Minnesota to face the 11-2 Vikings. The Vikings are 7-point favorites. The projected total is 43.5 points. That means Vegas is telling us that the Bears will score 18.25, while the Vikings score 25.25. As far as injuries, there's one injury class that I must talk about, and that's the Bears running backs. All of their backups are hurt. Every last one of them. Right now, DeAndre Swift has the backfield all to himself. I assume they're going to either one of these backups will be healthy for the week, or they will have to bring up somebody from the practice squad. Meanwhile, Minnesota comes in pretty healthy. Mike, Steph, who you got?
Well, I'll start with the Bears first. The Bears were outgained last week against the 49ers in the first half, 319 yards to 4 in total offense. Yeah, I'm going to repeat that. 319 yards to 4 in the first half. They ended up losing 38-13 and making your boy look like a total fool in the process, because the Bears were my Hidden Gems pick of the week last week. I just thought all the stars aligned, and that was going to be one of those games that, I could sneak through. Well, I was wrong. They've lost 7 in a row. They fired the head coach, and now they have Montez Sweat voicing his opinion. I quote, "Nobody's going to come and save us," Sweat said. "We're grown-ass men. We got to go back into the week and get back to work. It's definitely been a tough year, but life has its ups and downs. Just got to ride the wave. I got confidence that we'll get this thing right eventually. Just got to be positive." What else is to be said? Yeah, what else is there to be said? There is an interesting stat when it comes to Montez Sweat. Do you know that Montez Sweat has never been a part of a winning season in his career? Remember, he got traded from the Commanders to the Bears. He's had a non-losing season, but he has never had a winning season. The non-losing season was, I believe, the year that the Commanders got into the playoffs at 8-1. So if anybody knows anything about losing, it's Montez Sweat. Not him personally, just the situation that he's around. I don't want anybody thinking I'm kicking somebody when they're down. That's not me. At least that's not me anymore. Right now, the Bears really should be in the business of keeping Caleb Williams healthy and looking to see if any of this talented yet underachieving roster needs to be back. Now, going over to the Vikings. The Vikings this last week took the Falcons to the woodshed. Sam Darnold threw for 22 of 28, 347 yards, and 5 touchdowns. I want to say if it wasn't for Josh Allen's performance later on that day, he might have had the best day in fantasy football when it came to a quarterback. But Josh Allen blew him out the water. Now, both the wide receivers had over 100 yards. Justin Jefferson had 132 and 2 touchdowns, breaking his multi-game slump of not having a touchdown. And Jordan Addison had 133 yards and 3 touchdowns. Sam Darnold has finally found the place he could thrive in after such an environment that had long eluded the 3rd overall pick of the New York Jets. Do you know that Sam Darnold became the 9th quarterback in NFL history and the first since, why did Jets keep on coming up? The first since Aaron Rodgers in 2019 to hit these benchmarks in the game? At least 325 yards passing, 5 touchdowns thrown, and 75% completion rate with no interceptions, and 155 plus passer rating. The defense is only allowing 18.5 points per game, 6th best in the NFL, and leads the league in interceptions at 20. The Vikings have a 2-game edge on the Packers for that first wild card, and will clinch a playoff spot with 1 win or one more loss by the Rams. Something's telling me, but I'm going to go against my gut. I'm going to take Minnesota -7 at home. A lot of times in these divisional games, you kind of throw the numbers out the window, but Bears kind of look like they're ready to pack it up. So there's something about that game that happened against the 49ers that it's going to scare me off of thinking they could do an upset. So I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings -7. The over/under, I'm going to go over because I think it's going to be a coming out party for Sam Darnold and them boys at home on Monday night. They're gonna look to light up that scoreboard because I think they're still in their mind like, listen, if Detroit lose one game, we got them. So yeah, that's my pick.
Chicago has lost 7 straight games. As you point out, the last game they got whooped by the 49ers. They're also 0-6 on the road. Meanwhile, the Vikings, they're 11-2. They're 6-1 at home. They've also won 6 straight games. So clearly, the Vikings have a big advantage here. In Survivor, I think the Vikings are a very sound choice. I'm having an issue with that touchdown spread. And this is what my issue is. Not really that I don't think that they can beat them by that or more, but just the dynamics of the last week. The Vikings beat the Falcons so bad that I think people might think a little bit higher of the Vikings than maybe they should. Meanwhile, the Bears just got embarrassed by the 49ers, who people were not thinking, well, me included, are not looking at the 49ers like a very good team right now. So I think that spread, just by where Vegas puts everybody at, they probably extended it a little bit more to get a little bit more juice out of it. I'm going to take Chicago plus the 7 points. I think Chicago is going to backdoor this game, lose by 4, even though the game was never close. And as far as the over-under, I'll go over. I think that between the Vikings offense and me expecting Chicago to do something late, the over makes sense.
I'm Desmond Powell, host and creator of Hip to the Games, and I am incredibly grateful to announce that the show has been nominated by podcast professionals from some of the biggest networks in the industry for the chance to be named Sports Podcast Group's Best Basketball Podcast. While Hip to the Games merges the love of basketball and hip-hop, it's an honor to know that one side of the spectrum has received this kind of love. And as a fan of the show, this is a very easy way for you to show your support for Hip to the Games. You can cast your vote by visiting sportspodcastgroup.com, navigating to their drop-down menu, and clicking the awards tab to view the 2025 shortlist. There, you'll see the Best Basketball Podcast icon, where you'll scroll down and find Hip to the Games, where you can hit the like button to officially lock in your vote. Regardless of the outcome, Hip to the Games will always be about celebrating the brilliance of basketball and hip-hop's past and present. So make sure to get your votes in before January 13th, as you remain such an important part of this podcast growth. I sincerely thank you for all your support.
The second game of Monday Night Football, the Atlanta Falcons are 6-7, and they're heading to Las Vegas to face the 2-11 Raiders. The Falcons are 4.5-point favorites. The projected total is 44.5 points, which gives me the easiest math of all. The Falcons will score 24.5. The Raiders will score 20, according to Vegas. As far as injuries, Aiden O'Connell was carted off, I believe, but it turns out right now they have it diagnosed as a knee bruise and not any more serious damage. So it's possible he will start Monday night. If not, Desmond Ridder will be the starter, which will be pretty interesting to face the Falcons. They also still have to figure out what's going on with their running backs, as Alexander Madison with his ankle, Zamir White with his quad have missed the last couple of weeks. The Falcons are pretty healthy. Mike, Steph, what do you think about this game? Do the Raiders have a shot?
You said the Falcons are pretty healthy, at least physically. Because mentally and emotionally, I know they broken. Mike Steph's Petty of the Week. Yeah, that's a new segment over here. Kirk Cousins is a bum. Yet again, he messed up my parlay. He was 23 of 37, 344 yards, 0 touchdowns. 0 touchdowns. Like, I repeat, how in the hell do you throw for that many yards, 344 yards, and have 0 touchdowns? You couldn't even get one, at least one. 42-21. And you couldn't get 1 touchdown. Garbage time MVP. He's the front runner right now. My brother Low Fat said that he smelt my bet, and that's why they lost. Well, I smelt their stench. All the way from Minnesota. And I live in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. How about this for a stat? These Atlanta Falcons were 6-3 at one point, and now they're 6-7 and probably not making the playoffs. Only reason they're even in contention is because Tampa's only 7-6. I'll talk about their coach, Raheem Morris. Yesterday, he reiterated that Kirk Cousins will remain the starting quarterback, saying that he has earned the right to right the ship. Really? So he's earned the right to effectively tank their season. They were 6-3. He's lost 4 straight. Oh, I got some more stats when it comes to that in a very few minutes. He says, Atlanta faces the Raiders on Monday night, and Michael Penix Jr. will stay as the backup. Now, in the Falcons' last 4 games, Cousins has been one of the worst, if not the worst quarterback in the league. And this comes after he threw 7 touchdowns in week 9 and week 8, respectively. However, since then, he has thrown 0 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. The crazy thing to me is that they don't even deserve to be on the outskirts of a playoff berth. But, with 3 of their last 4 games remaining against these teams, the Raiders, just coming Monday night, then followed up by the Giants and the Panthers, they just might sneak in. The Raiders, why are they playing? Like, they've lost their top 2 quarterbacks, even though you said that O'Connell might be, he might be, he's not as hurt as he thought, or as hurt as they thought. But Desmond Ridder, I'm quite sure, is going to make sure that they're going to hire all the ice packs and make sure he can start, because this is his revenge game. He's prepping his revenge game against a team that tossed him away like the trash that he is. I have really nothing else to offer when it comes to talking about this team. I shouldn't even waste my precious breath on this franchise. So, with all that being said, Atlanta minus the 4.5, just to throw some salt on people's wounds. And I'm telling all the listeners and all the viewers out here, take this with a total grain of salt, because I wouldn't touch this game, and neither should you. I'm going to take the Raiders plus 4.5, and that over under 44.5. I'm going to go under, because guess what? It's not like Cousins is throwing any touchdowns. It's not like Kyle Pitts is getting into the end zone. It's not like Drake London is lighting the world on fire. Plus, they're in Vegas. So you don't think those young boys are going to go out on Saturday and Sunday and come in Monday hungover? But, yeah. Raiders plus 4.5, over, under.
Yeah, Atlanta has looked horrible lately, but they still have a 38% chance of making the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Raiders are eliminated. Part of the reason the Raiders are eliminated is because they've lost 9 straight games. But they have been still competitive. They've still been in games. They lost last week to Tampa Bay 13-28, but it was actually 10-14 heading into the third quarter. And the week before was the Kansas City game that it ended up being by 2 points. The Raiders are still trying. They're not very good, but they're not giving up.
AP.
Yeah, you got to give them credit for that. The Falcons, on the other hand, are looking like they gave up, even though they're in the playoffs, or at least in the playoff contention.
Because they got Kirk Cousins. If I knew my fortune hanging on Kirk Cousins, I was like, you know what, just toss the season over.
Well, I got to say, Mike, Steph, with Derek Carr injured and probably out for the rest of the season, I have to hitch my wagon to somebody else. Somebody else that's being maligned and just attacked by football fans all across the world. Doesn't quite deserve the amount of abuse he's getting. So that's the reason I'm siding with Kirk Cousins this week. I got the Falcons minus the 4.5. And I'm going over because they're going to score some points. By the way, forget that for a second. The real bet to make is to take Atlanta in the fourth quarter. I wish I could remember exactly how long it's been, but it's at least 4 or 5 weeks that the Raiders have given up at least 10 points in the fourth quarter. So what I really expect out of this game is this game to be pretty close and not too high scoring into the fourth. And then I expect the Falcons and Kirk Cousins, hopefully with Darnell Mooney, because my best ball teams have a lot of Mooney on them, crush the Raiders' hopes late.
You said your
Cousins and
basketball teams had a lot of Mooney on them?
They do.
Okay.
And a lot of money on them, too.
Okay.
Money and Mooney. Yeah.
Mooney. Mooney.
One more thing before I kick it to you. Congratulations to Hip to the Games, to Gimmick Infringement, and to the NBA Baseline, all finalists in the Sports Podcast Awards. We'll have a link, hopefully this week, one of these weeks, that we'll have the link below. You can vote for our homies and get them in there. All right, Mike, Steph, take us home, please.
This has been an important week for yours truly and for Hidden Gems Football because, like I said, this background might be the background you see for the foreseeable future. But that's neither here nor there. I'm always blessed and rich going and happy to be able to share the screen with my bro. So if by chance, you see us alternate in the next 2 weeks, that's just the way happenstance has happened. But yeah, I had to at least make sure I got this one in. One last thing, and like I said, even though it's becoming a weekly occurrence, I don't like plugging myself. Please check out my newest musical release called Mike Steph Year 2, The Understanding. Part 1, 2, and 3 are out right now. They're not out for sale because it's more like a mixtape form. Right now, they're available on SoundCloud. Hopefully, it could be in a link in the description. And please check it out because December 10th actually makes 2 years from the day that I decided to change my life. 2 years of sobriety, 2 years of getting my head straight, 2 years of just being the man that I was always ultimately meant to be. So for the last 2 years, I chose to commemorate that with my other creative passion, which is music. Like I said, please check it out. You'll be glad you did. And there'll be more on the way because I think I'm just going to celebrate the whole month. So there'll probably be parts 4 and 5, but regardless. And of course, check out the Salty Daughter Mike Steph podcast, which if you haven't seen in the background, yeah, that's my other podcast. Check that out on all streaming platforms. Salty Daughter Mike Steph, when you see this logo, yeah, that's me, which is crazy because I forgot that quick that I could lean back and give y'all the full view. And then I come back into the picture like the Undertaker. But with all that being said, Hidden Gems Football has been a part of. I swear he always has that. Yeah, that. 19 Media Group. Goodbye.
Peace.
Yeah, only because time.
You should give him a verse.
Should I give him a verse?
Yeah, in the
I should give him a pot.
This is a 19 Media Group presentation.
As soon as I stop talking about the chicken, all of a sudden now I'm back in focus.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right.
You got to learn that lesson.
And a millionaire on top of that. Like, what was he thinking? Really? What was he thinking? Anyway, I know.
And none of this is ever making an episode, so. I'd rather talk about Diddy. All right, anyway.
Okay. Yeah. Take that. You think I didn't catch that? I caught that at the end. Take that. Okay. Wow. It'd be your own people. All right. Yeah. Ah!
All right, Jada.
That was my hamstring. That was my hamstring. My mom told me that one of my father's nicknames was Gunslinger. And I swear, if you saw my father, you'd be like, where did you get all this from? Because his looks belie everything I'm telling you right now. And I remember they was like, "Oh, that's Gunslinger Jr."
If he was slinging something else.